Hey everybody, welcome back to the Daily Kerbal. We're going to be colonizing Ike today. It's going to be our new goal. And in order to perform that, I have brought two spacecrafts out into Duna orbit. And now I'm just going to kind of try to figure out how to get to Ike. I brought a truck and I brought a base. This base has got to be one of the most compact things I've ever built. It's like a fuel pod and a cupola module, and then it's got like everything I could possibly think of tossed onto it. It's got like a thing, and then another thing, and you get it. So we got hopefully everything that the base is going to need to get down there and even start producing fuel at a slow rate for now, but get it going. We've got docking ports so that we can expand it later, and then I'm actually going to expand this comms antenna. There. Danzer is piloting it, so she's going to start out being the commander of this Duna station, the Ike station, forgive me. And then, on the other side, we got the truck. Truck is still behind its fairing, but it's a smaller one this time. We're going to be flying with a truck that is, like I said, it's small. We got a pilot and an engineer on board, Helkes and Al. They're going to be going first. I've already got a survey satellite running up around Ike. Completed a contract by doing that, and now I'm going to send this truck down there to scout for possible landing sites. Because I think I know where it is that we're going to go, but let's just see if I can, get into an... Oh, crap, I didn't want to do that. Add maneuver. There we go. Now... hopefully I can just somehow... Okay, look, we can use Duna's orbit to knock us into an Ike orbit. Guess that's the closest we're gonna get, so let's just do that. Okay. I can probably even just start maneuvering right now if I want. This shouldn't be too hard of a burn. How much fuel do I have? Enough. Okay. I still need to, I'm probably not gonna land on the equator because if I remember correctly, the best mining site on Ike is not on the equator. It's a bit of a problem, honestly, but it's gonna make space travel ever so slightly more finicky in between Ike and Duna, but you know what? I'm confident in this. I think we can do it. Okay. Let's just get rid of the node, I guess. Okay, we actually have two things to consider here. It's the periapsis I want to look at. Can you let me see the periapsis? Alright. Because we want to get there, but we don't want to fall into Duna's... Yeah, that should be fine. 120. Oh, let's just kind of fly over there. Every time I do one of these launches, I am terrified that I'm going to forget something. Like I'm missing a part on one of the spaceships, that kind of thing. Oh, look, we're flying actually pretty close to the space station. Ugh, come on. Okay. This orbit is actually pretty good. If I remember correctly, then in fact, I might just switch to the survey satellite and check. Gotta toggle the overlay. There we go. Okay. I think I'll use the heat map. Heat map's probably the best one. Let's make it a, yeah. And the cutoff just kind of rids us of... So anyway, this should be fine. And just use this, and it's like I said, see there's that big red spot down there. That's kind of where we want to go. Want to find us a nice juicy landing spot somewhere in that area. I foresee a number of complications as far as that is concerned. Number one, sun, right? We're going to need constant sunlight in order to recharge batteries, and that place is going to have long periods of time, I think, where it's not in direct sunlight, but rotation is also a lot slower there, meaning that orbiting is going to be harder. But hey, worse things have happened. We do want this to be efficient. So, we're gonna, like I said, we're going to send the truck down first. I can turn that off. There we go. That was the communications line. Okay, now just burn. Burn as hard as you can. Now, we only have this stage. So whatever fuel you see there, that's all we have left to perform the landing. I hope it'll be enough. It should be. Okay, so step 1, establish orbit. Step 2, adjust orbit. Step 3, descend. Step 4, land. Let's make it roughly equal. That's about as good as we're going to get. Periapsis was starting to drop. So now we go over here, and I believe we're going to burn at our normal vector, which unfortunately our pilot is not experienced enough to find it on her own. So I'm going to have to do it myself. That's anti-normal. Normal is up, right? Anti-normal is down. Come on. That's the one we want. Okay. Originally, I had the idea of doing what I did on Ike, on Minmus, which was landing the thing with just a engineer. Engineers don't have SAS assistance; they can't stabilize a ship by themselves. So, I have to use the WASD keys to keep it constantly in the right spot, which is extremely tiring. But in the end, I decided the reason for that was because the station itself only has a single cupola module in it, so only one person can be inside. The truck has a space for 2 people, so I thought that it might be wise to leave one empty seat just in case. I did not do that in the end, so what we're doing right now is it's going to be full. Isn't really a problem. I think I want to aim just a tiny bit ahead of it. But that should be good. This thing has wheels, right? So we're not actually finding a permanent landing spot just yet. I actually think I can just kind of do the landing maneuver right now. Try to keep in mind that we're going to have more slowing down as we get closer. So right about like that. Don't want to be on the edge if possible. Let's make sure that we're in the red zone. Sounds dangerous, but oh crap. I'm headed in the wrong direction. Okay, well, in that case, that's a waste of fuel. And I have no quick saves. Shouldn't be a problem. Doesn't look like we're burning through too much fuel at a time. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that was my fault. We're moving in the wrong direction, and also apparently no. I was worried that my fears about the moon's rotation would start coming true, but okay. Now let's see if I can't also try to move us a little bit more this way. But this landing can afford to be inaccurate. So let me quickly put a maneuver node here, and then... Yeah, we need this one. Okay. Need to burn in the anti-normal direction a little bit. Let me turn that off. And get rid of that. Just needed that to tell me which vector we needed to burn towards. There. Speed's a little high, but we have lots of fuel. We're coming to the point where I'm gonna... In fact, we might as well just deploy this fairing. There's our truck. This is what it looks like. It's not gonna be as high up as the other one was. I'm kind of preparing for Duna. On Duna, right, the gravity is still lower than Kerbin, but not that much lower. So I don't think we can necessarily rely on Kerbals to jump up to the doors all the time. So it's about time that I started, you know, actually normally using ladders and others. Okay, like right now is a time I think we can start slowing down. Go ahead and burn through all that fuel. Suborbital flight, right? Yep. Go ahead and burn through all that fuel. It's down nice and slow. Bit too slow. We want to keep going ahead a little bit. There's a nice big flat area over here, so after a while, you know, I think I'm gonna end up landing somewhere out there, but this area looks pretty good. There's a crater over there. Go. We are landing. Okay, here's my technique for this. These wheels are pretty good shock absorbers. I'm gonna quick save it here just in case. Wheels are pretty good shock absorbers, so really all I want to do, I think, is to just kind of kill our vertical speed. I actually meant horizontal speed. Which means putting the retrograde vector right on the top of the nav ball. So we should be falling straight down now. And then just constantly burn toward the retrograde vector to slow us. And I'm kind of going to land the rocket on its thruster very gently, you know, as gently as I can. I got lots of fuel, plenty to do it. So just kind of want to land this on the tip of that rocket and then, you know, let it fall forward. A very familiar sight, huh? The soil here is a bit darker than we're used to. The moon soil was not quite this color. We've been training for this. This is what the prep was for. All right, there's the shadow. Coming in kind of quick now. They're down nice and gently. Looks like we're still moving at a little bit in a horizontal direction. It's because we're still on the orbit cam. Darn it. And when I say cam, I mean, you know, speed meter. There. Down we go. Anything under like 7 meters per second, I think, would... Okay, almost there. There we go. I'll just kind of make sure it tips forward. It has tipped forward. Okay, let's take what's left of this fuel and put it into the vessel. Then I'm going to have to edit the steering. Something I never do back in the hangar. I really should. Alright, that's one thing of fuel. Now let's get this one. Excellent. Now we drop it, and that's it. Truck's ready. Let's deactivate these reaction wheels. Where is it? Toggle torque. There we go. Okay. Steering actually seems to be just fine. I'm quite okay with that. So, extend the antenna. Let's go ahead and brake. And then let's take some seismic data and transmit that home. Battery power shouldn't be much of an issue either. We can log the pressure data, transmit that. It's like I said, we might as well just transmit all this stuff right now. I know we're not getting the full scientific value, but the last time I visited the science facility, we had so much of the text unlocked already. Really, at this point, we can afford to not be 100% efficient with all the science data we're gathering, and also the temperature. I think that I might be wrong about this, but I think that having a good scientist on board will increase the amount that you get from transmitting data. But again, that could just be because run an analysis. Okay, ore on the surface is 10.45%. I think we might be able to do better than that. So, I mean, let's drive around a bit. Got a crew on Ike. Should I do it? should I do it? I'll do it. I gotta say, after having spent like the first couple of minutes already on this moon, I have to admit that I really do like Ike. Okay, obvious joke out of the way. Let's just keep driving. Let's broadcast a crew report. And in fact, let's even broadcast an EVA report, why not? Keep it. Go ahead and take a surface sample. That one we're actually going to keep. In case we one day get a laboratory down here, which we will. It will happen. We're definitely going to get a lab down here eventually. But in the meantime, let's take that EVA report and let's transmit that, because we get full science from that one. Keep the surface sample. This entire area is actually pretty good. I'm going to take this, I'm going to take the meter for the surface scanning module and I'm going to pin it up here so that we can always see. Okay, we're currently at the South Pole, by the way. We're not going to be moving very fast. Just kind of cruising along the surface, you know. What's going on? Is this the landing? Landed on the surface of Ike, walked... Well, walked is a stretch, but I've been on the ladder of an object that was landed on Ike, and that counts as walking in this game's book. 10.47 I think is actually pretty good. It does seem to be going up. It was 10.46 a minute ago. I wonder if this is kind of like, you know, you're hot, you're cold. If I keep going this way, will I get better? Will I find better ore? I gotta admit, I'm not entirely sure if I'm doing the right thing with this whole ore scanning thing. Because, I mean, I'm landing in the spots that it marks as the richest area. Assuming that the red is the richest area. I mean, I imagine that's what the heat map is for. And I remember that as I checked, like, you know, the cutoff, as I increased it, you know, percentage-wise, that area there on the bottom at the South Pole of Ike was the one that would stay there. So this has to be the richest area, the richest ore deposit on Ike, I imagine. So I guess what we want to do here is just find ourselves It is increasing. So it looks like as I keep going towards the center of this big red dot, it gets bigger. So I guess that's what we're going to do. This episode is going to pretty much entail me driving along the surface of Ike. Gotta be careful, because we're tipping a bit. Oof, okay. So, just be driving along the surface of Ike, seeing if I can't find a spot that has, like, a high concentration of ore, and then, maybe plant a flag there, mark it, and then we'll land the surface base, start drilling, and cut it there. You'll notice that I completely bypassed the construction of an Ike orbital station. I'm kind of holding out for like a contract or something. Like maybe we'll get a contract for doing that. Turn the lights on because it's cool. If you're curious, by the way, this is what it looks like for the members of the crew. This is pretty much how they're doing it. Let's kind of just do this a little. This looks like fun. Though I'm not seeing the ore level. But that's fine. You gotta be careful. It's traveling at 20 meters per second. This is like almost highway speed. Nice large open area out here. Okay. I feel like this might be a pretty long drive ahead of me. And it really is just this. I mean, I live for this kind of stuff. People who were complaining about the Mako scenes in Mass Effect, in the first game, or, you know, the return of the Nomad in Mass Effect 3, Mass Effect Andromeda, sorry. Let's never mention Mass Effect 3 again. This is the kind of stuff that I live for. I honestly wish that, you know, speaking of Mass Effect Andromeda, you know, there was the one, there was that one level that took place on, like, a moon or a planet, I believe, that was, like, broken into a bunch of pieces. I honestly don't remember much of that game's plot, because it was kind of just there to be there. But I remember the feeling of driving the Nomad on that giant rock in space, and I was like, you know what? This game needed more of this, is what I said to myself when that happened. Like, this game needed more of just, you know, you driving through a giant, silent, desolate wasteland in space, because that's what 90%, even more, of space is, just large, desolate, basically. And I realize that this doesn't exactly make for exciting gameplay, despite what the music right now is trying to hint at. But again, I live for this kind of stuff. Space exploration probably is just mostly like this. Like, very little of it, I imagine, is exciting, so to speak, but it's... What's the word I'm looking for here? It's very tranquil, very awe-inspiring. I don't know if I talked about this, by the way, the last time that I was recording an episode, but, you know, as far as space exploration is concerned... No, I did, actually. I did mention that... I did mention the recent announcement of the reassembly of the Space Council in the United States. Vice President Pence announced that astronauts will be returning to the surface of the moon, and I was extremely excited to hear that news. I don't know if my memory is pretty terrible in cases like this, but I don't remember if I commented on the fact that my heart kind of bleeds that, you know, if this does happen, it's an announcement made under President Trump. But, I mean, it is true that most of the Apollo moon landings happened... All of the Apollo moon landings, in fact, happened under Richard Nixon. So, I mean, I guess it's possible to to disassociate this from that. I'm gonna cut here before I start getting into arguments and stuff that's way too deep, and I'm just gonna be casually driving across the surface of Ike right now, and I'm gonna go see if I can find, like, maybe I imagine in like the center of this giant red blob is going to be where the ore concentration is most dense. So I'm just gonna drive out there, or close to there somewhere. And I mean, we'll see if we can find ourselves like the best spot for a surface base. Also assuming that I don't totally flip the vehicle on my way there. I don't even know if this really makes much of a difference, but you know, it's an excuse for me to drive across the surface of a giant desolate rock in space. See you soon. Okay, so after having driven around a bit, it became obvious to me that, well, first of all, I was heading in the absolutely wrong direction. I was heading south instead of north. But what I was fooled by was the fact that the ore level was rising, despite the fact that I was heading out of the red area on the map and toward the green. So I turned around and started heading this way, and sure enough, it dropped all the way down to 10.32. Now, I have since jumped into the Kerbopedia or whatever and looked around to see what I was doing wrong. Apparently there was a more efficient way to scan for resources on the surface, which I am going to have to do in the future, but I don't actually have the part needed for that. So honestly, I think 10% we can work with. It's going to take a while to fill up the ore canisters, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to stand. I looked and, you know, found myself a nice little spot that's relatively even, where I can just kind of go down and, you know, it's not that scenic a sight as we did on the moon, but it'll be fine for now. So I'm going to plant a flag right here. And I'm going to mark this as the Ike Base landing site. There we go. Should do it. And we can put it right back. Let's just test and see what Ike's gravity is like. I mean, it's sort of moon-like, I guess. Almost. So out here we can do all this jumping, but considering that this is hardware that we're going to want to one day probably take down to Duna as well, I'm still going to have these ladders on here anyway. Could you grab onto that, please? Appreciate it if you could. Come on. No? You don't want to? You want to grab onto that ladder? It sure would be helpful if you could grab onto that ladder. There we go. Alright, up you go. Oh, come on. You climbed down just fine. Oh, hang on, there's a climb out option here. Yeah, there we go. That's what we want. Okay, in you get. Okay, let's extend this antenna then, and then we're just going to have the rover sit down there, marking the spot of our landing site. There's the Ike flag planting. I didn't mean to do that. Oh well, that's fine. That's just fine. Because now what we have to do is we have to bring in the base. And then I'm going to land that there, and that's where this episode's going to end. Ike base, small, fly it. Okay. So let me explain. This is, by the way that I landed the surface base that we had on Minmus. I don't think I never showed the landing of the base, right? I didn't do that, but this is basically how I did it. I had like a fuel tank that I used as the regular fuel tank that flew the spaceship all the way out there. Obviously this was covered in a fairing before that. And then I had a little fuel tank on the top with some thrusters that, you know, reached outside of the spacecraft, and a little probe core on the top. The probe core on the top was necessary for the Minmus station because I believe the Minmus station was empty. I kind of just landed it there and had it wait for the astronauts. But in this case, there is a crew member on board, right? Danzer is piloting this. she's going to be responsible for getting everything up and running once the base lands. The reason that I do this is because, once this is finished, I then just kind of detach this, launch. If there's any fuel left, then I just have the probe fly off and, classify it as junk later. And then what I have there is something that is basically permanent. This is the way I landed the Minmus base too. Anyway, let's start maneuvering. I think I'm going to want to stow this antenna for landing. Alright, can I do that, please? Okay. Now, I'm going to see if I can do the same thing here. Oh, perfect. Got a periapsis of 79. That's great. It's wonderful. Let's do that. Keep an eye on our fuel. This one burned through significantly more fuel than the... Hang on. That one's still full, right? Crossfeed is disabled. I left that one empty deliberately, and then, okay, that's all the fuel we have left for descent. Should be fine. Should be more than enough. This is what we're going to use to get on a nice small orbit, and pretty much that. Just get into orbit. Okay, did we do it? Hang on, let me just get rid of this. I don't see a periapsis. There we go. It's a bit higher than we wanted, but it'll do. Now we just kind of fly over there. I'm also remembering now that we are going to have to correct our course too. Alright. Danzer also has all of these options available for her too. The next thing that we're going to have to do as far as this base is concerned, I think, is we might want to carry down some, like a science facility to help level up our Kerbals. And of course, build a spacecraft that can carry the ore up to a space station. We might even need to... I don't honestly know if we need a space station around Ike. Like, we might just be able to perform missions straight from the Duna station. The Duna station is in high orbit. All of this, of course, made a bit more difficult that the orbital incline of the station, right? The station is not along the equator. That's going to be a problem. Now, we don't have... going to turn our flags on, and the rovers, I guess. Everything's right there, and I'm going to set this as our target. The Ike Base Landing Site. Now, the first thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to adjust this node. I don't know if this node works for us, but I'm going to try use it anyway. Okay, let's see what it's suggesting. Nope, other way. Fuel we have left is running low. You gotta love me and all these silly contraptions, huh? Every time I build something like this in the game, I wonder, is this what the game developers intended for us to do? So it's sending me around this way. I guess I'll just... if that's what the game says, I guess I'll just do it. Every time like I was saying, I wonder if the game developers had like a very specific way, if there's a better way to do this. I kind of just go with my gut, right? Like, I know very well that this thing that I'm doing here, having a fuel tank on top pulling the entire spacecraft instead of pushing it, is a very typical rocket science mistake. And I'm not doing it because I'm expecting it to be more efficient at all. I'm doing it because there's a payload, right, that I want to drop without an engine being at the bottom. So... interestingly, though, if I understand correctly, the very first guy who ever dreamt up the idea of a liquid-fueled engine put the engine on the top with the fuel on the bottom. And, I mean, the guy was he was the first person to do it and everything, so obviously mistakes would be inevitably made. Okay, I'm not liking this. I'm not liking the direction that the computer wanted me to go in, because I'm feeling like this is kind of screwing up right now. Yeah, 0 came by and I wasn't even near it. So at this point I'm kind of at the mercy of my silly contraption. There goes the fuel. Okay, well, I guess we'll just make sure the staging is set. I guess it is. Alright. Let's just keep using these engines. And that is now all the fuel we have left. Okay. I want this to cross right across the center of that flag. Looks like it's just about perfect. Oh, shoot. It's alright. Still good. Retrograde. And let's decrease the ascent. We have a lot of fuel left, so I think I'm gonna use most of it up as just a whole. I'm not gonna put us on a smaller orbit. I'm just gonna straight up send us right down. This inevitably means that our rate of descent is going to be a lot faster, but I'm not worried because we have an entire tank of fuel left also. I imagine this is due to the planet's rotation, but we've gone a bit off course. No problem. We'll fix it as we get closer. Like right here. Okay, so we want to be burning normal. See, our course is nice and slowly moving back towards that. I'm actually even going to maybe aim a little bit ahead of it. I don't imagine that the rotation is going to be too bad, but just to be sure. There we go. Right through the center and just a little bit ahead of it. There. Let's point us back to retrograde. Is this going to be a dark landing? It's totally going to be a dark landing, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Okay, so guess what I didn't put on the station? Yep, that's right. I have no lights on board again. One of the things that I always forget. I mean, come on, you can forgive me, right? Look at all the things that I had to cram pack onto this thing. Okay, we can start looking at our surface speed now. Alright. Bringing down the speed is going to bring our descent vector closer to us. So, we want to be careful with how much we do that. See, it's moving closer to the target. I'm focused on the nav ball right now. Okay, 230. I mean, that's fine. It's coming in a little fast. But as we get closer, okay, we're 25 kilometers out. Now I think it's a good time to start burning and adjusting course. No, keep it on surface cam. Target, I think, I find that the target vector is really only useful when you're in space. Okay. What was that? What just blew up? Something just blew up. I don't like that. What did we lose? I'm looking at the ship. It doesn't look like we've lost anything. It was 2 solar panels. Okay, I knew on the Minmus vessel I had a structural thingy in order to make these engines go out a little farther. Yeah, but the heat destroyed those 2. destroyed the two solar panels that I had on there. Okay, I'm going to push us a little bit ahead. Help bring our speed down a bit and correct our course. I wish there was a way for me to move this nav ball somewhere else, because it's good that it's there, but it does get in the way when I'm trying to look at things. Okay. Almost right above it. So this looks like a good time to start killing our horizontal speed. Coming in for a landing, baby. Great, lost something else. What was that? What did we lose? Ugh, this is a disaster. Don't see what it is that we lost. Hopefully it was nothing important. Don't really have time to focus on this right now. Where the heck is our target? There it is. Okay. It's good that I have that beacon down there, otherwise I would be very lost. Don't think lights will help us. Airplane landing gears have lights built into them. I wonder if maybe that wouldn't be a good idea for the landing struts too. Okay, I can see the rover. I'm just going to snap us to retrograde now. Bring us down wherever we'll be brought down. Okay. I'm taking that back. I'm still going to try and correct our course. And I imagine I'll see what it is that we ended up losing. Oh, crap. Okay, now we're coming a little too quickly. Although I guess the danger is a lot. Yeah. Just looks a lot scarier than it actually is. Okay, I ended up bringing this up a little bit, but that's fine. Even the engines don't put any light because they're so high up from the... Oh, there we go. I think I hit the ground. I did. There we go. We hit the ground. Sweet. Base is now on the surface. Okay. And we have lots of fuel left, so here's what I'm going to do now. I am going to control from here. And then I'm going to detach this. And then nothing's happening because there's no electric charge. Well, I guess then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward. There's also no comms on the side on the thing either, so that's great. So is that thing just kind of going to be stuck up there now? Gonna wait for the sun to come back up. Okay. How about now? Can you take off now? Yep, you can. Okay. There we go. Crap. SAS doesn't matter. We have torque on this thing, don't we? Oh well, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna kind of launch it off into space. This is what happens when you don't have reaction wheels on your ship, by the way. Alright. So I'm just gonna send it up. I'm gonna have it crash somewhere. There we go. What's that? Oh, that's where the truck landed. Okay, so that's the distance that the truck made, by the way. Just in case that's of any interest. Come on. Alright, there we go. So that's taken care of now. Now we can switch to the base. And here we are. It's a bit of junk, we can clear that up, but first, the big moment of truth to see if my design worked properly. Let's retract that antenna for now. Disable the brakes. And I guess now we're going to see if the docking port is actually at the right height. Oh, come on. Technically, if it's not, we still have the grabber, so I can just kind of grab onto the station, but the reason that it's important for the docking capsule to be at the right height is because I also want to put stuff attached onto the space station, so surface outpost, sorry. Alright. Fire up. It looks good. It's good, but we're not quite aligned. So hang on. There we go. Okay, so the docking works. That's good. It's important for us to know. So now let's see if the rest of the things work. We gotta extend all these solar panels. Extend the communications array. Actually, come to think of it, we can probably retract that right now and just temporarily use the communications array over here. Deploy all these drills. Start surface harvesting. Oh, hey, look, we actually got some dust going up right now. I don't think that was a... I don't remember all that dust being there when we did this on the moon. That must be new. Update 1.3.1 did just come out. And then let's activate these radiators. There. Should keep things nice and cool. Harvesting at a pretty low rate, I guess, but... Look, it's filling up quite nicely. We leave this out here, do its work, then... Can I disable... Why are the motors running? That's weird. Okay. Alright. We just kind of leave this thing to do its work, I guess. Energy consumed... So yes, we are losing energy at a faster rate than we're gaining it. That was kind of to be expected. And I still wish I knew what the second thing was that I lost. Because, you know, we had 2 explosions when we lost the 2 of the solar panels over there. Which isn't a big tragedy, but it isn't kind of important for me to know what else we lost. I might have to go back to the assembly bay and check on it. See what it was. But for now, we have our Ike base. It's now gathering ore, and soon it's going to be producing fuel as well, until we get some more, you know, powerful facilities coupled up to this station. But the Duna infrastructure it's starting to work, and it's about time, I think, that we started doing contracts again, because I've kind of gotten out of contracts. Right after, I think the next thing we're going to do is we're going to collect all our crew from the Minmus pads. Because their work there is kind of done now. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed landing on Ike, building our first small surface station here, and I will see you in the future. Bye-bye.